Hey guys, I'm John Setzler. Welcome back to Man Cave Meals. For our last cook of 2022, I'm going to fire up the new ASMOKE AS700P Pellet Grill, and we're going to cook a rack of beef short ribs. So let's get started. We're going to get this party started with my rack of beef short ribs that I've got here. This is a 4-bone rack. It's pretty decent size. I have gone ahead and taken the membrane off the bone side, and I've also done a little additional trimming of the fat cap on the top. But this guy weighs, like I said, about 4.5 pounds. And what I like to do to prep this is I'm going to put my rub on it, but I'm going to put a little bit of a binder on here of just some Worcestershire sauce. I like to kind of smear that over it, and then we'll shake my rub on here. And I'll give you the recipe for the rub that I'm using on this rack in the video description. I'm using basically my Man Cave Magic #1, which is a typical salt, pepper, and garlic blend, but I have added a little bit of paprika to this, and I've added a few other goodies that I'll give you in the video description. So I just want to get a nice coat of this all the way around the outside of these ribs. And then on the top side, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to put a little bit of our Worcestershire sauce on here as a binder, and then I'm going to shake a nice liberal coat of our rub right on here. And I'm going to let that sit here for just a few minutes to bind. And after that, guys, had a couple of minutes to sit, I put it in one of my vacuum seal bags, and I've tossed it here in the Vac 100 where we're going to put a nice tight vacuum seal on it, and I'm going to let that ride in the refrigerator overnight until we're ready to cook this tomorrow. We're going to get the ASMOKE AS700P set up here to do a low and slow cook on these beef ribs today. And one of the things that we're going to need to do with this grill, because of the design here, is you want to make sure that that vent for the direct grilling is closed. And I am going to put some aluminum foil over the top of my heat shield in my drip pan, and this is going to serve two purposes here. It's going to help us keep the drip shield clean, but this grill also, because of that design, develops a hot spot right here in the middle. So when you're trying to cook low and slow on this grill, you get about 50 to 100 degrees higher heat right here in the middle than you do over on the left side. So we're gonna put that over there, and the testing I've done indicates that this evens that temperature out very well and makes it really a perfect setup for low and slow. And what I want to do is I just want to set this guy up to run at about 200 degrees Fahrenheit here. So we're going to let the grill preheat, and while we get our ribs out of the refrigerator. Our grill is up to temp, so we're going to take this rack of ribs and I'm going to set it right here in the middle, and I'm also going to run one of the ASMOKE temperature probes in here, and we're going to stuff it up in here and let it monitor the internal temperature of these ribs while we cook. And after that's been cooking for a little bit, we'll come back and have a look at the display. And just after I put these in, here's another look at how you can see inside of this pellet smoker through the window. And this window does get a little bit hard to see through, but it's real easy to clean. I cleaned this inside of this one before we started with Dawn Power Wash, and it cleared it right up like new. And here's a quick peek at the display where you're seeing the ambient temperature of the grill as it sees it. And right here we've got the meat probe showing at 37 degrees and 39 degrees. It's kind of bouncing around there a little bit as we go. So this cook, I'm planning for this cook to take somewhere in the 7 hour, I'm going to say 6 to 8 hours, because I'm going to let it go at a low temperature for the first 2 hours or so of the cook, and then we're going to ramp up a little bit. So we'll be back at that point. We've been going about 2 hours here, so I want to have a look at that. That's looking pretty good. It's taking on a lot of nice color from the smoke. So what I'm going to do now is just close it back up, and I'm going to ramp my temp up to about 250, and we're going to let these keep right on going. Okay folks, we're at about the 5-hour mark here, and these ribs are starting to look really good. The internal temperature on these guys is up to about 160. It's not quite where I want it yet, but you can see we're starting to get some pullback on those bones, so it's looking good. I'm going to let these go a little while longer, and at about the 2-hour mark or so, maybe the 2.5-hour mark, I ramped the temperature up to 250, and at about the 4-hour mark, I ramped it up to 275, and this is starting to look really good, and I'm going to let that go for just a little while longer. I'm going to give this a quick spritz here while I've got it open, and let it go another 30 or 40 minutes, and then we'll be back because we're going to foil these to finish them. Okay, we're rolling along here at the 5.5-hour mark, and I'm pretty good with what this looks like here, so I'm going to get the temperature probe out of there. I'm going to pull this off right quick, and we're going to wrap it in foil. And now I've got that wrapped. We're just going to drop it back in there, and it's going to go for a couple more hours until it's just nice and super tender. So we'll be back when that happens. We are almost up to the 7-hour point in this cook, and I just checked on these, and I believe they're ready. They're looking really good. They're probing absolutely wonderfully tender, and I've got internal temperatures here on this meat anywhere between about 202 and 205. So I'm going to take these off, and I'm going to set them on the counter in the foil. I'm just going to lay a towel over them, and we're going to let those rest for about 20 minutes before we cut into them. Okay guys, here's our finished product. These things they look perfect, so let's just cut in here and see what we have. I'll just go ahead and cut one of these bones out of the middle here, and we'll just take a look. How about that? That's looking pretty outstanding. So let me take a picture here, and then we'll have a taste. Yeah, these things are looking pretty crazy. I'm just going to take my knife and cut a little tip off of the one on the end here, and we're going to taste that. Man, that's crazy. That's a beautiful thing. For those of you that follow me, you know I think beef ribs are the best part of the cow, and these are excellent. They've got a great smoke flavor. I used hickory pellets on this cook, and the technique, you know, that we went for 7 hours, we went for 2 hours in the really low smoke, and then we turned the temperature up a little bit, and then turned it up again when we wrapped. So perfect. These got a beautiful smoke ring. They've got a beautiful smoky flavor. The rub that I used on here is my Man Cave Magic #1 salt, pepper, garlic blend with a little bit of added goodness. I added a little paprika, a little cumin, and a little freshly ground coriander. And I'll give you that recipe in the video description. So guys, let me know what you think. Until next time, this is John Setzler with Man Cave Meals.